I have dedicated my career to public service because I love this country and our Constitution and the rights that make us free.
So a big milestone for the United States, but in this country, Canada has yet to confirm a black woman to this country's top court. In fact, the first person of color, Justice Mahmoud Jamal, was only nominated to the Supreme Court of Canada last year. So for their reaction, we're now reaching out to two Canadian law students. Safia Thompson is a second-year law student at the Lincoln Alexander School of Law in Toronto. Mirabelle Harris-Eza is the national president of the Black Law Students Association of Canada. She's also a second-year law student at the University of Calgary. Hello to the two of you.
Hello.
Hi.
Safia, I'll get you to start us off here. What went through your mind, as a law student, watching this moment of history happening in the United States?
Yeah, no, definitely. It was definitely a moment of inspiration, but more so peace. What this moment, symbolizes, and what Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson does, is pretty much make it a real possibility, one that is tangible, for people that look like myself and for young women who are not racialized. And I'm certain that, many other young women, again, whether racialized or not, who feel the same way, that it's a time to be alive. It really is a time to be alive, and to be able to witness this confirmation, and to be able to witness, what we can do as a community, and, where we can go and what we can accomplish as a society moving forward.
And Mirabelle, what about you? Here we are, all three of us in Canada, watching this moment in the United States. What was going through your mind?
I was incredibly excited and elated, and there's something that happens in the mind of, Black children and just children when you don't see yourself in positions of power. Something inside of you makes it feel like it's not possible or it's not real. And so to see, Justice Brown Jackson, to see her say something like, my family went from segregation to the Supreme Court of the United States in one generation, that's incredibly, inspiring and motivating. And I think it's also important to note, that we have seen also, senators and politicians attempt to paint her as, radical and undermine her capability. And that's been troubling, particularly because her qualifications are just so, impressive. And there's this feeling, I think, that a lot of, Black law students feel, and that they might need to work twice as hard to achieve half as much as their contemporaries. And so if we as a society are going to do better, we need to make sure that Black law students aren't feeling that kind of pressure. And so it's a mostly sweet moment. It's mostly sweet, and then I'm very excited. And I think the bittersweet situation is that representation alone won't solve every single problem in our country and our communities, but it makes a hell of a difference. And to see her, at that pinnacle of her career inspires so much of us across Canada to hope that we can see the same thing, in our Supreme Court one day.
Yeah, let me pick up on that point, though. You talk about this bittersweet moment. And, Safia, Canada, as we said, has yet to nominate a woman of color to our very own Supreme Court. What impact, if any, do you think what has happened in the U.S. will have on the legal profession in this country?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely hoping that it'll have a major impact. I mean, we slightly recently have seen the appointment of Justice Mahmoud Jamal, so we are definitely moving in the right direction, and, having, more diversity on the Canadian bench, whether that be with respect to race, socioeconomic status, or gender, that can only strengthen how we service members of society. In terms of having, different, again, identities, and to make sure that our Canadian bench is diverse, I think is extremely important, and to ensure that it is a reflection, a truer reflection of what our society looks like.
Well, representation can only really happen at the upper echelons if it's happening at the school level. And Mirabelle, I do want to ask you, because as we said, you're the national president of the Black Students Association of Canada. What would you say about the state of representation right now in Canadian law schools?
I can say that I'm very hopeful, and I can see that it is getting better. We've seen, law schools implement admissions processes that allow Black law students to write, supplementary essays to describe their experiences. We've seen scholarships set aside for BIPOC students. We've seen some schools implement, fee waivers for particular Black law students with financial need. And I think what's really important about these, processes is that they're working hand in hand with the community, with the local Black Law Students Association chapters, to think about how they can do outreach better, how they can, get more Black law students in these spaces. And I'd like to just, talk as a University of Calgary law student. I know that, we implemented a Black law students admissions process, and our enrolled Black law students increased in the JD stream by over 300%. In some years we had 1 to none, Black law students entering the faculty of law. And now I think we've had over 12, in the last year. And so these are huge moments. And I think starting at that law school level, and even before that, reaching out to the high schools, to undergraduates, and showing them that, there's a space for you and you deserve to be here too. It's so important. And I know a lot of law schools are trying their best, and I can only really hope that more law schools can do better, because I do understand that there are some that still to this day as I speak have almost no Black law students in their faculty of law JD stream, and that's incredibly troubling. So I'm hoping that they can learn, from the law schools that are doing better across Canada, and hopefully do better for our Black law students across Canada.
Yeah, well, Safia, as we said, you're at the Lincoln Alexander School of Law. That's in Toronto. About 50% of the student population is considered diverse. But, beyond even the challenge of law school and getting diversity in admissions, I'm also thinking about the next challenges that both of you have in simply getting an articling position, getting hired and being noticed by law firms. What would you say to that, Safia?
Yeah, definitely. I guess I'll say as well as our law school, there's 68% of the student body at this point is considered racialized. And in terms of, navigating the recruitment process, depending on if you decide to go to government or if you would like to be, at a big full service firm on Bay Street, I think one thing that is important is to, create specific programs for Black and Indigenous students. And the firm that I am at, McCarthy Tatro in Toronto on Bay Street, has actually done that. So I was part of the 1L recruit process, which is specifically for Black and Indigenous students. And again, as Mirabelle said, in order to, ensure that, our profession is actually diverse, it starts with the law schools, but it's also going to start with the firms and the governments in terms of their hiring process and practices.
Well, as we say, a moment of history in the United States causing reflection and perhaps lots of discussion in this country. So to that, Safia, Mirabelle, thank you for this. Best of luck in both your careers.
Thank you.
Thank you.